We don't have to talk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser Podcast. Another Monday night, we are back in action. I am your host, as always, Timuchin here in Chicago. Good weather. I like it. We had some outdoor festivities yesterday for Jasmine's birthday celebrations. High 50s, 60s, perfect weather for me, but it will only last a couple of weeks before I start bitching about the heat. So enjoy it while you can. We did have. This is the first in a long time, like first ever, I guess, apparently over here, but a sandstorm in Chicago. Like my phone alert said sandstorm, and I was like, okay, AI is really losing it. Was my first thought.
Did it just think you were like in Ibiza with like the team? Or did the song come on?
I was like, sandstorm, what the hell? And yeah, I have not seen, and I've seen some mighty ones when I was in Saudi Arabia. This was nothing like that, but just having a sandstorm in the middle of Chicagoland area was just freaking weird. But even weirder is Bickler. Bickler, what's happening?
It's hot as balls down here, and I'm going to complain about it already, okay? It's summer down here, which means that all the bugs have crawled out of their godforsaken holes and are flying around making life miserable. It sucks. Don't move to the south.
Don't move to the south. Tips. Well, you're safe over there on the East Coast, Gally?
I'm safe, but I'm wearing long sleeve shirts because it was like 55 degrees when I tried to take the stupid smoke man for a walk tonight because it was really goddamn cold. It was nice this weekend, or at least Sunday was, because Saturday, I just got to admit, I am 47 years old and I am not young enough to get on a bus trip with young people and have like an open bar event at a baseball game any longer. So I was ushered into Fenway Park. I was ushered home from Fenway Park. We had alcohol both ways, and we had
ushered, like by security, or like what does that mean?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure security would have got me out of there if anyone had found me. But it was one of those situations where like somebody called and said, we got an extra seat on this trip, and it's like a fan appreciation day for the bar, and do you want to come? And I said, well, those are all employees. And they were like, I know, but when the TVs don't work or someone can't find a soccer game, we call you when the owner's not here. So we figured you're kind of an employee. Why don't you come with us? So I went and celebrated with these guys, and they're all like 20 and 30-year-old bartenders and young people that work, and I'm not. And I got up at 4:30 in the morning that day, and we got back at about 2 a.m. And needless to say, Saturday was painful to the point where I basically didn't make it out of my house. And I almost swore off drinking until I realized I had to do it. Did you too?
How long did that last?
Screw it. No, it lasted all the way till tonight.
And Gally's like, I swore it off till I started getting the shakes.
Yeah, basically.
Wait, are you telling us on air over here that you have not had anything to drink entire Saturday and Sunday?
That is a fact.
Damn, look at that, Bickler.
Told you he was getting the shakes.
I know, right? I bet he was getting the shakes. Yeah, too tired to get the shakes probably. But I know what will give you guys shakes. That's right. It is time for. Honestly, it's cake. It is cake time. So you guys will, even you guys are going to be able to get this going over here. I'll get to the question real fast. Okay, name the player who was on the pitch for every Premier League goal scored by Liverpool in the 2018, 2019, and 2019-2020 seasons. Anytime we scored, this player was on the pitch. Bickler!
Jordan Henderson.
Oh, okay. Gally. Man, I thought you guys were like hanging off the rim and shit.
18. What were the years again? I'm sorry. I got to get the
19, 19, 20.
It's not furniture.
Allison's missed a ton of time.
Fabinho?
Really, man, I thought you guys had this in the bag. I was even gonna ask like a follow-up question. It was Virgil, actually. Virgil was the guy who plays every freaking game. And that never comes off, mind you. Virgil was on the pitch every single time we scored that season. Who is the player who has been on the pitch every minute we scored this season?
Mo.
Gally?
Do we score? No, because we scored in the Chelsea match. Yeah, I'll say Mo.
No, actually, the answer is nobody. See, that this was going to be the follow-up trick question. It was Van Dijk until today. So when the question, actually, BJ sent me the question, Van Dijk was qualified for that. But today was the first time we scored with...
Because he didn't play.
Van Dijk on the pitch, exactly. And this was like the first game. And like you're saying, Bickler, Ali has missed a ton of games. Man, can't even have you guys easy ones anymore. Really out of shape. It's the end of the season. I give it to the end of the season. Tired legs, tired minds. Let's go with that. But
we don't get it right at the beginning of the season when we're fresh and coming off like off-season workouts.
I had to switch my strategy up just to watch Gally squirm a little this week. Just went with a quick answer. No country of origin.
That wasn't exactly fun. I couldn't get into it. I actually thought we were throwing us off with like the injury season. That's why I was like, I asked for the year, but then I should have paid attention. 1920s when we won the title. The year after is when he gets hurt and Henderson takes him out with his knee.
Yeah, because the original question, like I say, was like for this season, I believe, when he sent it. But then obviously today happened, so he had to do some like alterations in the question over there. But Van Dijk is the man. He's out there. First game he's missed I mean, that's the thing. And we scored, obviously that kind of went down the drain, so you had to make the adjustment. So let's start with the game. Let's get that out of the way over here.
Quickly.
Victor, I'll ask you, what did we learn today? What did you learn today?
Not shit. I didn't learn anything from today other than the fact that people will overreact whether we have won a title or not.
Okay, that's fair. So what was your reaction, though? Like when the game ends and we lose in that sense, are you like meh and move on, or are you like damn it, or where are you at?
I gave zero shits whether we lost today or not. To me, it's a run out, and it's an opportunity for the manager to see certain combinations of players play together who don't often play together at EPL match speed, right? Because I think you can train, but I think it's very difficult to replicate match speed at the EPL level inside of a training, right? And if you do, you probably have a team that's injured often. Not talking about Jurgen Klopp, but I'm just saying, I think that, to me, this is an opportunity to get players in. I know we talk about Harvey and Bradley being on trial and stuff. Guys, I think the decision on those players has already been made. And I think it was made probably a month and a half ago. But I do think it's an opportunity for the manager to work out. You're not going to put a lot of your key players in on these matches. It just makes no sense to have a player go in, God forbid, blow an ACL or an MCL and be out for a year and a half, right? So I think you're going to see, that's why you got Costas in there, Bradley in there, Kwanzaa in there. You see in a lot of minutes for Endo, those type of things. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, they asked Slots, I think it was before this game. I can't remember. It was one of the pre-match press conferences in terms of players maybe earning minutes and showcasing themselves and stuff like that. And he flat out said, it's not fair to write a guy out based on 2 games, and it's not fair to suddenly pencil a guy in based off of 2 games they have, especially when you have a season-long track record. These games don't mean anything in that sense. It is maybe something for him to see, but I don't even know. It was good for I guess players like Elliott and stuff like that to get playing time with others as a start, as opposed to when they go in the Plymouth game where everybody's a backup or something like that. Mind you, it was pretty darn close. But what did you learn, Gally?
supporters had a whole hell of a lot of fun traveling down to the South Coast, and they looked like they'd been there for a couple days, and they might have drank as much last night. They looked like they might have drank as much last night as I did Friday night, and they might be feeling the way I did Saturday tomorrow. That's what I learned. Like at the end of that, when that final whistle happened and everyone's just bouncing and the crowd's going crazy, you just realize some of these people spend as much of that match under the concourse drinking beers where they keep them flowing as they did out in the stadium, but they didn't care. They were there to sing and they were there to celebrate. To Paul's point, they're champions. They won. Like it was, I think he rotated the side because he wanted to see some people, to Paul's point, a few more little tweaks. I'm happy for Harvey. We might get to whether Harvey's still here next year or not, like maybe later in the conversation if we talk about that kind of stuff. But this match to me was about guys like Bradley, guys who have roles next year, getting 60, 70, 80 minutes of run, playing with Mo up top and linking up even with Harvey. That was a great job by Bradley with the assist at the beginning of the match. I thought he was really good, and like always, I thought because he doesn't have enough fitness and he doesn't have enough minutes in his legs, he tired and he started to make mental mistakes and bad defensive lapses, and he looked like he might get a red card at any moment, which is basically Connor Bradley when he steps on a pitch. But I love him. He's got somewhere to go from there, and maybe later we'll talk about a guy who's going to come in and help him not have to be Trent's replacement and just be part of it. But he showed a lot of really good things today, and I thought that was a positive. I also thought for periods Gakpo looked good, and then he looked Gakpo-ish, and he was a little disinterested and floated. Soboslai was a man on a mission today. It almost looked like he had something to prove. I don't know why. It was a great goal, even though he admitted it was trying to be an assist, because these guys don't want to do anything.
I called it when it happened, because the way he's looking.
Everyone on this side is trying to get, like, Chiesa had an open shot at goal, and what he does is shoot with his right foot, and he passed the ball to Mo, because they've got the memo. You give the ball to Mo until he scores, or until this record is done. And that also, like, kind of changes the way I watch the match, because they just forced him the ball all game, like the pitch was literally lopsided, like one of them old games that you used to play. It was fun, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, the result kind of sucks, especially when you have the lead. And I thought it was decently played. I mean, I'm sure for the neutral, when we talk with the panel tomorrow night, I would think they would agree that it was, for the neutral, it was a fun watch. Two teams kind of playing really open. People trying to get like most of their minutes on our side. I mean, Brighton had stuff to play for in some ways, I think. But, you know, I mean, they went all out, first of all. And it's their last home game and stuff like that. Obviously, they want to like finish on a high note and stuff like that, but it was like a, you know, overall like a nice clean game. And it does kind of suck to finish the season like this in some ways. I mean, you never want to watch a game where your team loses and stuff like that, but in the grand scheme of things, does it matter? And just the fact that you see the lineup and you see, you know, half a vacation first part of the week. I mean, if the manager doesn't care, and obviously I assume the powers that be don't care, I don't think we should be that arsed either. At the end of the day, they've earned the right to kind of like float along with this and just do whatever it takes to get to the parade and the trophy next Sunday. So
most importantly, we've earned the right to go through this match and not care. Okay,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, but you know, when the biggest criticism was like the point total and stuff like that, when we clinched it was 4 weeks to go, I think we all thought, you know, they'll get another 6 to 9 or something like that, and they'll end up here anyway. The fact that that's not going to happen, I don't even know if it is going to be 86. Really, God knows what will happen. I don't know who's going to party more, us or Crystal Palace.
I was just going to say, let's not kid ourselves. Crystal Palace is not training once between now and next Sunday.
Probably,
they are not training at all. Like I'm not even sure some of them are going to make it to Liverpool. Like some of them still going to be wherever the hell they are partying, and I don't blame them for doing it.
I was saying it earlier. I think it was like this morning. I expect like a Globetrotters kind of game. They're all in the midfield in a circle. Everybody's doing tricks.
You're just gonna see Will Hughes. You're just gonna see Will Hughes
shooting off confetti.
Will Hughes with a 3rd-degree sunburn rolling in, like just like a, like a bottle of aloe.
I don't even know if we're gonna get those points, but even if you do, obviously the max is 86. I think that's probably the only downer. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. When we think about it 10 years from now, we're gonna be like, man, we kind of like got that title way too easy. We're not gonna remember the point total. We're not gonna remember any of that stuff. It's gonna go as another title we won, the second Premier League title we won, and both of them have been like snooze fest at the end where we kind of like cruise to winning them. So it is what it is. In terms of performances, I mean, I'll ask you guys real quick. I don't even know how much to read into those, to be honest with you, but Kerkez start was a shocker to me, and I think to most of us, because we were talking about we might not even like see him again and stuff. And I don't know. I don't even know if you can look at that performance and judge anything. Costas is still going around like a 12-year-old kid. I don't even know, like any of these performances. You can kind of look. Kwanzaa looked decent, and then like makes his signature error in the last goal. I think kind of like drags his butts going up and stuff like that. But performance-wise, is there anything to be taken away from the Spickler, or all of it is like almost like you had a really good practice session today kind of a deal?
I mean, there's some things that you can take away from everybody, I think, right? But I mean, it's all stuff for the most part we know. I think Gakpo continues to be this weird one where like he seems like he'd fit centrally, but like the more you see him play, the more he just seems like so good out on the left comparatively. I mean, I continue to be disappointed that Konate is asking for the kind of money he is in the form that he is right now.
Correct.
It's wild to me because like I think Konate, when he's fit and when he's in form, is elite. He's up there with some of the best center backs in all of European football. But when he's not, it really doesn't look good. And the fact that he's faded again and he's kind of in the form he's had and he's got the durability issues, I don't know how he re-signs. I don't see us signing him again for that money. So I think that's kind of a sort of a gray cloud looming over this squad when we look at things for next year. I think we still have to talk about the fact that we are now on the 3rd or 4th season in a row of Mo having a noticeable drop-off after March. And I think maybe there's an opportunity with the signing that we just made that makes that a little bit less of an issue next year, because I can only see that becoming more of a problem as he ages out.
Here's my thing, though. I mean, especially looking at the last month, I don't even know if it's fair to look at like forms in recent months. I mean, like Konate, for example, today, I mean, he probably looks to his left, looks to his right, looks to his far left, and you're like, ugh, this is going to be a rough one, kind of a deal, and like playing along. So that's why, like this, when you trot out the squads, Gally, it's very natural to expect some disconnects. Szoboszlai did play like he has a point to prove. But then you look at what Szoboszlai does and compare to what would have been done if McAllister was in the same situation. It is night and day. And same thing like with like Mo and stuff. I think if he plays with the actual midfield behind him at all times, if we're going full speed, I don't think he drops off that much. And I think there's a factor, especially when it comes to Mo Gally, about a little bit forcing it. As people force to him, he has to kind of like force it himself. Whereas maybe in the past, he would be okay with more, switching the wing or creating or going with the overlap and stuff. Today, it almost looked like he wasn't too keen on getting a hockey assist. He wanted one that's going to actually like count.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of the problem though. But like you say, and I do know what you're saying, but you say like once they start forcing it to Mo, he has to force it. But then the argument is they're forcing it to Mo because the edict on all players' heads is we have to give the ball to Mo. And let me be clear, that's because Mo told them they had to. Like nobody wants that record more than Mo. And we know this. He loves records, and it's what drives him. I love it. I love everything about it. For me, this day today, when it comes to Konate, like you make a good point. He's got these guys next to him, but on one side he looks over and he sees a kid who was named the opening match starter over him. So it's not it isn't some kid from the academy. It was a guy who at the beginning of the season was number 2 on the pecking order. And if you ever had the chutzpah in you that you thought you were going to be the heir apparent to Virgil van Dijk, this would be your partner. So you should be working with him. And the kid on the other side is a better defender than the right back that you were brought in to run into channels that he was going to vacate. So Konate to me has been a massive disappointment over the last like 4 months, 6 months. But really, now that all this contract talk's coming out, it's making me more even nervous because Paul talks about like this is something we have to deal with next year. We don't have to deal with this next year. Like if he doesn't have a contract signed by July, we have to decide whether or not we're going through another year of this or you sell him now. And you could force that guy out because I'll say this. There are certain guys who will dig in and sit in the reserves. I don't think Ibrahim Konate is the big little child inside the big man's body that if you told him you go to PSG, I think he'd go to PSG. Like, I think if you want to sell him, you take a fee. I think he would leave because I think if you told him you don't want him anymore, and I do think we've talked about this, I think the club has to get ruthless. I think days like today might tell you you might be better off keeping Kwanzaa, keeping Gomez, and buying a big-time center back this summer than you are buying a number 3 to compete with Konate because – to Paul's point, he wants $200K a week. He's not worth that much money in the Premier League. He's not worth that much money across the continent. So I'm not letting another player leave for free to Madrid or to PSG or to Bayern Munich or any of those clubs. Like, if he won't sign a reasonable club-friendly and player-fair contract, I think he's got to go. And days like today don't help him.
Yeah, I mean, Matata Red says Konate is off to Madrid and he will run his contract down. And I think it puts us in a situation where, first of all, I don't want to freaking talk contracts again, God knows.
No,
especially for Konate. I mean, you know, it was one thing to talk about Van Dijk and like Mo and stuff like that. I am not going to be wasting time in freaking like November talking about Konate's contract. Do you think, Bickler, this season's experience, especially probably the Trent part at the end, and let's face it, we had already won the league. Even then, it was what it was. So it wasn't even like we were still chasing the title. It could be a closer race next year or whatever. Do you think this year's experience almost makes it easier for the club to go and say, hey, man, here's the deal. Either do the extension or we're not doing this again. Let's find your destination. Or
yeah, I think so for a lot of reasons, because we're winning a title and not coming off a COVID year with the uncertainty of the economy going into the following year. So you've won a title, you're at a position of strength, you have a new manager that doesn't have the ties that had to the previous players, right? So I think it's easier across all facets to make very, very difficult decisions that reshape this team. And I think, you know, we always wanted to see this squad sort of do more strengthening from a position of strength. And I think they're queued up to do that. And I think the reason that we're all really excited about the summer is because it does seem like this is the year that this club has a number of clear targets. And it looks like a lot of those targets are right down in the crosshairs. It's just a matter of getting them over the line.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about those. Actually, let's start with those because we kind of like touched on it last week, I should say, about the whole Frimpong thing, and it has become more and more of a reality. It's almost there, 95%, unless there's like a Fekir situation going on over here. It looks like that's
he passed. He passed the physical. They've never once in the history of the club supposedly announced a player the day of a match. So I think we're going to get it tomorrow.
Tomorrow? I hope so. So Frimpong in the deal, and the Kerkez rumors and talks are progressing. The first odd part thing I was talking about this morning, Bickler, I mean, this is not something we're used to with like Edwards and stuff, because over the time we've kind of said, you know, when we hear about it too much, it never happens, because usually they do it behind the scenes. It's kind of been the opposite with these two guys if it does happen. But more importantly, this is what we talked about last week. If these are the two guys actually coming in, there has to be also a lot of like tactical changes happening just to get the most out of him. Because if Slot can't do anything, he can kind of see what the guy's strengths are and get the most out of it by making tweaks.
Yeah, it is true. I think we're being too quick to take Frimpong out of the back four. I think he's good enough defensively to play it. I think his skill set lends itself to moving forward, and that's what they wanted to do at Bayern, is they wanted to use him on the overlap and push him forward, right? So that's how we saw him. I think what's different with these two players, because we've heard so much about them and they're happening, is that both of these players have super, super close links to this club, in a number of ways. One with Frimpong being Dutch and Orange Slot being very familiar with him, his background, how he came up. And the other one coming from Bournemouth, who's, Hughes has been in the mix on that for years. So I think that's probably the two. I think both these players are fully capable of playing a back four. My personal feeling and what I like about Frimpong is during AFCON, during down the stretch when Mo hits the skids and needs, like, the bottom line is Ferg and Mo, when they sign these contracts, they had to understand the importance of taking care of themselves and on managed minutes. Like, that has to be a thing. We can't see Mo playing every match 3 times a week, 90 minutes a game. It can't happen. And I think what Frimpong does, it does allow you to have that versatility to move him forward and to play him up top in positions where you may need him when Mo needs to have his minutes managed. The other thing I think really works for that is Frimpong does have the ability to consistently run and make those vertical runs and overlaps, which takes a lot of the pressure from Mo and to get those positions off of him, which I think is also just equally as important as resting him. So I think there's a lot to like with both those signings.
Where are you at with that, Gally? I mean, I think the quality of the players and the players you bring in is, can't be debated. Obviously, they're like top-notch guys. One of them is Premier League proven. The other one, obviously, we've seen a lot of in Europe, and it's a guy that, a lot of people wanted all along. I think when you look at his defensive, I know, like, we have actually like a short video where we kind of like compare the stats with him and Trent. They're a lot less, like, he's not looking as like a defensive strength kind of guy, but one thing he does have is speed. So I feel like he's and the will to defense, if you will. So it's a guy, like, I was likening to like Gomez, where he can get beat, but he has the speed to get back in position or get back in the situation to help defend what got caused by him getting beat by a winger or something like that. Do you see him as a right back? Do you see him as a right winger? A little bit of both, as Matush like to say? Where are you at?
Well, all right. So I think he does a little bit of both, and I think that's his versatility and why he was so valuable to this club and at the price that he was available at. To Paul's point, AFCON, maybe last 20 minutes of matches when Bradley's playing and doing well and you don't need to take him off, you bring him on to sub in for Salah. There can be a lot of interchangeable parts. As a right back, I agree with Paul. He played right back at Celtic, and he was pretty damn good in the back four. I know it's the Scottish League, but he also was someone who came up through the City Academy. Like, he has played in big clubs and big setups. He went to Leverkusen and succeeded. Granted, Alonso made a system built around his pace and his ability to go forward from a wing-back position. I think we miss the overlaps with Mo. I think it stops Mo from getting to cut into that space on the inside. And once Trent started doing the whole inverted midfield BS that I know you love so much, Dimitri, I think we saw it not positively impact the side as much as it was when Trent was trying to bomb forward and make overlapping runs with a guy who was 3 times faster than him. The difference now is the guy with more pace is the right back, not the right winger.
Yeah.
And this side needed pace more than anything, in my opinion. The number one thing it needed injected into it was pace and top-end pace. And I think that's what Frimpong brings. I like his movement. I like what he brings. We can talk Kerkez different because I think Kerkez is a little different because I think he is more literally built to be Andy Robertson's replacement. Like, this is a 10-year younger version of a guy who's going to get up in everybody's ass and be the guy you need with a crazy mullet. And just, he's going to make supporters love him and irritate him like Bickler's mustache.
What are you talking about? Are you saying the Bickler's mustache irritates some people? There was a jab taken there. You're smiling, but that was jab taken there.
Just me. Maybe because I can't grow it. It's probably because I can't grow it.
We'll send you clippings. You can like stick them on there or something.
No,
But okay, so let's get to Kerkez, because I agree with you, Gally, in terms of he's the closest thing to Robertson, and the younger Robertson, the Robertson that was like really the driving force on that left wing. He has the pace, he has the strength. I think that's like the biggest thing too. He's like a strong dude, and he can put a perfect cross. And we've seen a bunch of his highlights. So, do you see a scenario though, Bickler, that we do hold him back more, especially if you have Frimpong play on the other side? I understand what you guys saying about our weaknesses, but you pull up his stats and look at his like ratio of like the duels he wins and stuff like that. It's not the positioning part, because I think he can make up for that with his speed, but like his duels won and stuff like that is not the best. Do you see a situation where Frimpong is given more of a go to push up, and then Kerkez is not given as much space, kind of like what we did recently with Trent and Robertson was almost coming back as the third? Or do you see it more turning into a 3-5-2 with Gravenberg sliding to the middle and Konate and
so that was you stole my thunder there. I think so. Kerkez can play in a back four. He can slide back. You can push Frimpong up. The thing I don't like about that is I worry about Kerkez when like he's not the best at tracking things through the air. So if you get long diagonals on his side, you're going to be in. It could be a long day for him. I also think he needs to improve as a one-on-one defender a little bit, like just from a ground challenge standpoint. But I mean, he's so young. I think I like about him is he can finish, right? So if you put him in the box and the ball pops up, it's not going to be into the parking deck like with Ravo. So he can score. I like the idea, and I think this is a legitimate shout that Gally made, I want to say like 2 weeks ago when we were talking about this. Maybe last week when we were talking about how, from the outside perspective, Frimpong doesn't really make a lot of sense since we're not playing it back three. But like this is a manager who we've seen this before. When we are in possession, he does like to drop a midfielder. So if we were to have Kerkez and Frimpong go forward, there is nothing saying that, whoever the defensive mid is in that scenario doesn't drop between two center backs and it essentially becomes a 3-5-2. Makes a lot of sense.
So here is where the twist comes in then, is the Wirtz rumors. Because I feel like if you do that, which I agree that it's probably the most logical thing to do, because now you're bringing Gravenberg, another guy comfortable on the ball back to build play from the back, and you can shoot, Frimpong and Kerkez with their speed up top and obviously have that threat and everything like that. The other player that we are rumored with, and I'm trying not to get excited and set myself up some disappointment, is obviously Wirtz, who's been going a lot now. City is reportedly out of the race. So it's almost like, it sounds more like what Wirtz wants to do. Does he want to take a gamble and come to the Premier League? Or does he want to stay in the Bundesliga and go to Bayern just like any other German would? I mean, we were talking about the watch along today. I really do not see a lot of things that can be sold to Wirtz in terms of Liverpool over Bayern. Like in terms of why he would, because he's still going to be chasing the trophies over there at Bayern, whether it's Bundesliga is almost like 80% guaranteed. And then, obviously going to be going deep in the Champions League. Whereas, he doesn't have to put up with the change of scenery, change of country, no more schnitzels, all that kind of stuff. So if that was the scenario, then would Wirtz be almost like the striker that, we're thinking of a 9? Because you're not going to have Wirtz and McAllister or Wirtz and Szoboszlai in there if you're pulling Gravenberg off the midfield.
I'm sorry, Gally. I was going to say, one of the things that I think this works, and I'll let Gally talk to the tactics of this because I think he's got probably a really good answer queued up here. I think we look at Wirtz and we think German Bundesliga.
Like, shit, now I do have to have a good answer.
No, I really don't. I'm just going to fucking ramble about bullshit like usual, but go ahead. I'll try.
I saw him like opening the book, like shuffling pages over there. Go ahead.
All right. So like, I'll just talk so that, Gally's crap answer comes after me and I look good for once. But I think when you look at Wirtz, like I think there's a world, like we see a German kid, we see a German wonder kid, we see Bayern interest and we just assume he's going to Bayern, right? Like makes sense. But there is a world, like we just saw Trent leave Liverpool as an academy kid who's promised his future and said he wanted to captain the side, and go to Real Madrid for a new experience. Like if you're a German kid and you want an experience outside of Germany, I think you've got the right club for that. I think you've got the right manager that you had this year to tell you all the things you need to know about Liverpool being a special place. I think Xavi would do that, right? And Xavi's a midfielder, and who's like, similar pedigree where Wirtz came up, played some mids, worked his way towards the attacking side. So I do see a world where he could be sold on a project that's not Bayern. Do I think it's like more than 50%? I'm not there yet. But I do think there is a world where he could be interested in it.
What's the percentage then? Since you didn't give me 50, what are you giving me?
42.
Oh, nice. I
put
like
it
the
at
technicality.
I put it at like 5 this morning. I think I said 1 in Discord because I don't want to be disappointed. But I'd put it at like 5 or 10% based on the reports that City are out of it, which came after my stupid comment in Discord this morning.
Which one? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Lots of them. All of them.
By the way, let me get this out of the way. I'm
No.
not going to open it up to discussion. Answer is no, or hell no, fuck no.
The answer is no because of who the human being turned out to be. And even when he got a second chance in Marseille, he still caused problems at that club and fell out with the manager, even though he was their leading goal scorer. The talent, unquestionable. If you gave me his talent and XYZ person's body, I signed the player in a heartbeat if I could get him. But that guy and that baggage and that piece of crap and those videos, and no.
There's no way in hell.
Not with daughters, not with nieces, not with friends.
Go ahead with your great answer to put Bickler to shame.
So the percentage-wise, 5-10%, my point was this. Wirtz, I think he would play more in the false 9 in this current setup unless they could move some other parts around, because I don't think you take Szoboszlai out. We've talked about how important his running is and all the things he does, and I don't think you sign Florian Wirtz for $150 million and then ask him to do Szoboszlai's running, so Mo can hang on the wing, right? Like get on the beach. What I think Wirtz is I think Wirtz is the generational talent that FSG has shown in their history they are willing to break their rules for. And they did it with Van Dijk. In some ways, they did it with Alisson. Hell, in a mistake, they did it with Andy Carroll. Okay? They broke an English transfer record because they thought he might be a player that could take them to the place they needed to get to. It was the wrong buy. They didn't realize, the Uruguayan they bought from Ajax was the guy that they really needed to build the side around in the same window. This summer, the Red Sox tried to offer $600 million to Juan Soto, and Red Sox fans like me laughed at it, but it was a real offer because they actually saw a player that they were willing to spend the money on that could change things. And I think that's what they see in Wirtz. And on top of that, part of the reason I think the interest is real and why I do believe they actually made an offer today, I don't know if it's good enough or what it'll do, but this player is like the perfect type of person you want to bring to Liverpool. He still lives with his parents. 2 years ago, he had $185 a week allowance, even though he was making $40,000 a week, because his parents didn't think his parents didn't think he needed more than it, and he didn't have a problem with it. Because he's always believed that his parents, like they took him from Cologne. He could have went to Dortmund. He could have went to bigger clubs. They took him from Cologne. They put him at Bayern Leverkusen because he didn't have to move out of his childhood home. He got to hang out with his childhood friends. He just transferred clubs. They have protected him. They came to England and they met with Liverpool before they met with City. Because I think they know it's a safer club and a better place. I think they look at this. He doesn't care about 350, 400,000 a week. He wants his football career to hit the highest levels. And if he really wants to, he could come sign a 5-6 year deal if he wanted to at Liverpool. And then he could still get his move to Bayern and win lots of trophies in Germany. But he's so loyal to Leverkusen. And if Bayern won't bring that offer up, and there's reports that they're looking at Xavi Simons now because it's more in the realm of what they're willing to spend, and Liverpool's willing to spend the Caicedo money and break the bank for that generational type talent, I think there might actually be something here, because I think at the end of the day, if Liverpool's the one club to hit the price, I think that player, I don't want to mention the name we weren't going to mention tonight, I think that player might actually see it in his mind that I'm doing for this club that did so much for me the right thing. I'm going to get them their money, and I know it's going to be great for me. And by the way, it's all reported all over Germany. Him and Jeremy Frimpong are literally the best of friends. Look at every celebration video. You'll see the
Tally's at 42%, baby.
Nope. You'll see them. I'm talking myself into it.
I know it.
But
You're damn near 50%.
If you look online, you will see pictures of them that look like, literally, they look like they are like Flotsam and Jetsam in every picture. They're joking, they're smiling, they're on the pitch celebrating. And from all accounts, the number one thing that Frimpong brings outside of pace and like raw talent is he might be the nicest individual in all of world football, and everyone loves him. Reporters, supporters, like the kitchen lady loves him. Everybody loves him because he's like that guy. So
okay, so you went from 1 to 5 to 55.
I'm still.
So my hopes are up now more than I was earlier. Now before
I'm still trying to convince myself that it could really happen, but the more I hear about it, and City getting knocked out of it, and Bayern not wanting to come up on their offer, and Bayern whining to media, saying like, oh, there's these weird reports in England. Bayern are scrambling because they never thought this would happen. And Leverkusen gave him a week. They said, if it's not done by the end of the week, you stay another year. He has a 4-year deal. Like, that's why it's so much money.
Here's the thing, though. Like, going back to what you said about him and his family and keep him in Leverkusen, I think that's why it's more likely that he would stay in Germany. But if, Liverpool could be the plan B, and compared to City, it could be a lot more suitable for him to go into if he was going out of Germany. That's why I still feel like, let's calm down, Bickler, come down from the 42. I still feel like he's more a Bayern thing. But because I feel like if Bayern is willing to do whatever it takes, if Bayern really wants him, Bayern will get him. And if all things being equal, he will go to Bayern. It's just like a German thing that happens. But will they be willing to spend that money, or will they try to play games and like piss him off to the point where he goes somewhere else? I kind of take that because I heard about that same stuff that you're talking about, Gally, and to me that's like a family saying, okay, we apply to this college, we apply to this college. If you don't get that one, you're going to go to this one. But ideally, we would want you to go to this one, kind of a deal. But if you don't get accepted, we'll send you over here. That's kind of like the impression I got. And I do think at the end, Bayern will be the one that blinks just because he is still under contract. It's not like they can wait and say afterwards and stuff. I know like Brian was earlier saying two attacking midfielders, and that would be like an interesting scenario too, I guess. I just feel like he would be, especially if we're doing what we're talking about doing in terms of pulling Gravenberch more to the back so you can kind of shoot. But I guess the biggest thing is these names being mentioned, Bickler, is one, we heard a lot from Van Dijk and Mo about, we're going all in. I mean, I was talking about it, I think, this morning. That kind of reminds me, I think maybe like 3-4 months ago when we sat here and talked, we said in a very American ownership kind of way, they could win and blow it up and be like, okay, this should carry you guys for 3-4 years, when the Van Dijk and Mo thing was not done. I feel like it's the opposite now. In a very American way, it's all in. Like, while the window was open, we're going all in and spending the money and getting the players that's going to make sure that these wages we're paying to Mo and Verge are.
But if you're Liverpool, why wouldn't you? You see an Arsenal team that can't get it over the line. They started the year with the best defense in the Premier League. They didn't score enough goals. They didn't stay healthy. You have a City side on decline. You have a Chelsea side that can't figure it out and has serious financial issues. United and Spurs are at the bottom of the table trying to figure it out. Like, you got Newcastle, Villa, Forest, sides that are up and coming like that, but aren't there yet, right? So you have a clear competitive advantage against all of these sides. This is the time if you're Liverpool.
Having said that, though, Gallia, I do feel like, I think we were talking with during the watch along, if you are getting Wirtz for all that money, that's one reason I feel like he would almost be the false nine and stuff, because I don't think, regardless of how much they're willing to spend, that doesn't leave you a lot of money to get a top nine, unless they have another name in mind that is more around like the 30 to 50 range that will, like, that's their main target. And it wouldn't be somebody like Isak or anybody like that, because they're not going to, Wirtz would be your top signing, and rightfully so, because he's one of like the brightest young players in the world right now.
Yeah, I think if you sign Wirtz and you also sign, assuming you're bringing in Frimpong and Kerkez and maybe doing a center back, I mean, this all also goes out to, we haven't talked about outgoings and how much we think they could get for Nunez, Elliott, Kelleher, Tsimikas. They ain't getting anything for Tsimikas if Tim's on the other side. But
I would take anything, yes.
Yes, he would take anything but that. I can't wait till he ends up at Fenerbahce next year, starting left back, along with Darwin as the striker.
It's going to be like, did we get money in this deal?
Dude, I will go on leave of absence for a couple of seasons.
But I think that you have to add those things in. But no, I don't think you're getting a big time striker. Now, if they really want to push the envelope, then maybe it all depends on what the price you think the Frankfurt striker will end up going for. Because the more I keep thinking about it, I don't think we'll get Sesko because he'll be too much. I don't think we'll get Gyökeres. I don't think, we'll go after Osimhen or even be interested. Like, I think it'll be the kid from Frankfurt, Ekateke or Ekatiki or whatever his name is. He's a raw striker. He can finish. What is his name?
No, I think you got it right the second time, but
I'll
let you go. I'll let you go for it.
I think it's Ekateke or Ekatike or something like that.
But we all know what you're talking about.
So I think if they were to splurge and you could get that I know they want 80, but some people ask for 80. We want 70 for Darwin. We're going to get 50 and fucking be happy, right? Like, we're going to get 45 and probably be like, just get him out of freaking town. But, like, I could see a player like that being the type of guy we bring in. I also think if you bring in Wirtz as the false nine, that's like we might be keeping Chiesa. We might be keeping Jota. Like, you might just keep some depth. And I think that's a big factor here. But I think Florian Wirtz, if he signs, fits mostly as a false nine in this formation. And you just hope that he literally just gives the ball to Mo all day. And like, I couldn't even imagine, like, he sees passes that people on our side don't see. Like, we talk about Harvey Elliott. You bring him in because sometimes he sees a pass no one else sees. Florian Wirtz sees 5 of those passes before Harvey thinks about coming onto the ball. Like, Harvey Elliott, if they sign Florian Wirtz, Harvey might as well just stick the for sale sign in the front yard of his house, because that's basically the club saying, like, good job, kid.
I think his comments today and the fact that we're interested in a player like that who is going to play that position is kind of writing on the wall. And I think when we talk about outgoings, Bickler, I really think, I mean, some of them are very clear, right? Nunez, Kelleher, and I think that's more of a disadvantage when it comes to Nunez. I think not with Kelleher. Kelleher, we might be like, we wouldn't mind keeping him and maybe loan out Mamardashvili again or something like that. But with Nunez, I think it's pretty clear, like, we got to move him, which doesn't, help you in the market. But I think a guy like Kwanzaa, a guy like maybe like Jota, I almost feel like really depends on what happens in the market in terms of incomings or what the replacement cost is going to be. Or do you think they're already on the to be sold list? I almost feel like there's a list that says to be sold. There's a list that says, well, we'll see what happens. And, like a guy like Jota and Kwanzaa is in that list, because if it's going to cost you this much, you were like, you know what, we already got Jota. We'll roll with it for another season. Same thing with Kwanzaa and stuff like that. Why cash in on Kwanzaa if the replacement is going to be, twice as much and maybe not as good, etc.?
Well, if you know how Edwards has worked throughout the course of the years, and I imagine he's working with Hughes on this, I think there's very few players on the list of players that are for sure being sold. I think there's a very long list of players they would like to sell, right? And so I think that the pricing, the parameters have to be right for those players to move, or they won't move them just because that's how they've always operated, right? I think there's a world. I think we're going to get more for Darwin than a lot of people think we do, just because of his age and his profile. That it's very, very hard to find a striker with his ceiling and his age profile in the market. And I think what you're going to do is you're probably going to get. I think there's an opportunity for 3 or 4 teams to be seriously interested and to drive that price up. But
how much do you think we get for him? Is there a league out there that doesn't have offside?
65.
I could see. Yeah, I was going to say 60.
In Europe, or are you guys talking like Saudi League, for example?
So if he goes to Spain, you might get 60. If he goes to Saudi, you might get 65, 70. If he ends up going to Italy, that's where you get the 50, 55 with add-ons and things. Because Napoli wants him more than anyone because Antonio Conte is like, I like myself a madman. Give me that madman. I just want him to go to Atletico Madrid because I just want to see him kick Real Madrid players and get red cards. Like, he would be a perfect Diego Simeone striker. Imagine him playing for Simeone. That would be like 2 crazy people.
I mean, for Napoli, though, they also see it as they have Osimhen on their books. So if they sell him, they're going to sell him for more than, so they can essentially swap Osimhen for.
They're just going to slap a Cavani kit on him
and make like 20, 30 million on top of it to boot just because of the money. We were actually trying to negotiate an ordeal where, we are sending. Well, now we're sending players. Ozan, man, that's not what we were doing. I thought
the basketball trade. I like it.
I'd make that trade in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
and 100% draft pick.
We're gonna send Nunes.
Yeah, I'd offer. I'll send more. What else do I have to send with that? Do you want something else? Do I have to kick in something else to sweeten this deal?
We're gonna give you a Costas in a bag of chips.
Oh yes, there you go. Free. Buy one, get one free. Comes free. Serge, what's up, man? Yes, I've been online since. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we were. Serge was earlier on this morning. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sunday is exactly what everybody's beating on over here. Pestavirus and goal allergy to Mo. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think that experiment is done. I don't even know why we're still putting him in, to be honest with you, when it comes to Nunez, because I don't think we're adding to his value in any way. I don't think we're diminishing the value in any way either, mind you. I don't think, the market is already set for him. But
he played hard. He played hard. He made the back heel actually should have led to a goal. I mean, let's be honest. This is the thing. Like, you can't criticize when he is playing hard. He's doing things. He set Mo up twice.
And Mo missed. How hard he plays a couple of games, though. It's just how he plays. I mean, like, his knowledge of the game, his football.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like. But today the manager or the coach thought to himself, I'm not playing Joe Gomez because he hasn't played in 6 months. I'm not playing the guy that changes the atmosphere or the mood. Like, I only got so many people to bring in, and I don't want to play too many guys. Like, McAllister, now they're talking about, has like a muscle injury. So I think right now, I think the sports science folks are dictating who is starting and who is getting minutes based on whose muscles look the best coming off a week and a half of drinking in Dubai. These guys were drunk on Friday afternoon when they got off a plane, and then Trent had a barbecue for them, and they like
that airplane looked like a hospital room with just all the IVs. You know it.
Oh, it's just
I'm thinking it's more like how Kelly looks at Galley on a Sunday morning to see his evaluated status.
Kelly was probably most disappointed with Galley for not inviting one of those people who bring an IV to your house to make you respond by noon. But these guys flew them from Dubai back to England and then sent them home on like their own flight. Like, these guys were partying for a week. I know what we saw today doesn't really bother me. These guys just, I think they're really tired. I think guys are run down. I think that's why we're getting the rotation we are. Nunez is Nunez. that doesn't justify Mo Salah not remembering that he has a right foot hook to the end of his ankle, and all he had to do was stick it out twice, and balls would have went into the net. But instead, he literally swung at a ball coming in from the left wing on a cross with his left foot. And
I mean, we were talking about on the live watch along. If Nunez misses that, we'd probably give him like
we'd be killing him. We'd still be talking about it now, 54 minutes into the show.
Real quick question before we go, because you did mention it, and we said we're not going to mention his name. Without mentioning his name, do you think he was in the match day squad? I mean, you almost like knew he was not going to come in, and not to mention you had Endo playing there instead. Do you think, Bickler, it was just to avoid even more controversy? Oh yeah, he was there, but we didn't need him today, kind of a deal, or does it also make it even worse? Because I'm sure we could have just taken a young kid and put him out there too, and maybe pull a Coutinho, like a back injury or something for him.
So I think if you don't put him in the squad, it becomes a story, and if you substitute him, it becomes a story. So if you put him in the squad and you don't substitute him, there's no story.
When you put Endo in his spots, you don't think it's not a story?
Not when the league's already won and the player's already transferred, essentially.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Where are you at with that, Gally? Would you rather see like McConnell on the bench or whatever? You know what I mean?
I think I would have, to be honest. I would have rather just let the lad stay home and not bring him all the way down, because he didn't. And I don't want to get too much into him because we've spent a lot of time on these airwaves. But like, he didn't look comfortable. I'm not even criticizing how he looked. He didn't look comfortable in those videos of the Liverpool supporters going crazy and all his teammates clapping him off as he's chewing his fingernails and walking off the pitch. It just looked awkward. I mean, and men in blazers don't like usually call out people with like clips.
No, why put him in on the match day squad and just kind of like totally avoid
that? I've said this last week and people killed me all over the internet that saw one of the shorts. If you haven't, find it right now. I think this manager don't give two effing bleeps. That's why he said he hasn't talked to him in a week and a half, and he hadn't talked to him even before he put him in
the match day squad.
Because I think the manager is actually making a point to make him go through this, and I think it's like
torturing him.
No, it's not torture to the player. I think it's like when people joke about like, you like cut the head off of a spider and you leave it in the corner of your house and you're like, hey, spiders, this is what it'll look like for the rest of you. Like this is
thing? Or did you just make that up?
I do that shit, dude. I like, especially if I get a water roach, I'll kill that shit and let it sit so his buddies see him.
Just put it on like a
no, but I don't mean it. I don't mean it vindictively, but I think this manager is making a point of like, hey, you are here. You did it this way. You made this choice. Here's your bed. I'm not going to give it off to you by you get to sit home in your flat and watch this on TV. You're going to travel down to Brighton. You're going to dress. You're going to warm up. If I send you out to warm up, you're going to run down there. You're not going to play. So we know.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost like very clear he wasn't going to play, regardless of how the game was going. But
I think it's also the manager saying, last week I told the media I put him in the game because I thought it was what was best for this team against Arsenal. And I'll do it again. And I knew there might be boos, but I didn't know. And it's Europe and everyone has a right to their opinion. The man knows how to answer the questions, which makes me think he thought about the question before it got freaking asked. Which
should have made him warm up. You should have made him warm up and then not subbed him in.
It just makes me think he knew what he was doing.
He did, because I saw him jogging on the sideline.
He did. He had to warm up today.
I don't want to go into the Trent thing again.
No, I don't think they were. I don't think they were booing him either. From what I read online, there weren't a lot because the people were so drunk in the crowd because they were as drunk as the players who came back Friday. These people were just having fun. I just don't think it was comfortable for them. So I think next week's going to be a lot more. Yeah, we had such a good show for 55 minutes.
Yeah, as Solo
you brought it up, Tim, not us.
We have the two. I did bring it up actually. You know what? Shut
up. No clips last 5 minutes.
Don't try to run us off this.
Well, you know what? It's that time of week as we wrap it up over here. Then, Bickler, any final words?
No.
This is gonna be a segment. So we will be doing it. I will come with.
I'll be ready next week. I promise.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we have another week of partying and celebrating and everything like that. And like you say, I think they just will go out there with cocktails, both Palace and Liverpool next week, and it'll just be one big party, especially since they won the FA Cup, which was really nice. But
the worst played 0-0 draw ever.
Yeah, could be really high scoring where they even high five each other after the other team scores and stuff like that, like a little
6-5. They start passing it to Mo just so he can break records. It's 6-5 to end it.
What was his name? Where Favre gave him the sack record? Strahan, Michael Strahan.
Michael Strahan.
Yeah, it could be that kind of a scenario where they like bad back pass or something like that.
Tyreek Mitchell just starts passing the ball straight to Mo. You know what would be great?
Way, yes,
what would be great?
We have that coming up as well.
What would be great is if Henderson just lets Mo score every time, and then after the match, it's like, yeah, I just wanted to stick it to Pep. See that, Pep? I don't have to really save shots. I'm not really that good of a keeper. You can get all up in my ass.
Yeah, but we do have the final coming up. It's going to be a nice parade. I don't think it's going to be awkward at all. I don't think anybody's going to care once the parade comes around. I really don't think so. It's going to be like the Spurs game, and that's why I kept saying I thought that was like the best timing when everybody was half drunk. I think it's going to be kind of like those away fans when, there's much. Just ask Gally on Friday nights. He couldn't boo anybody. He didn't have the energy. So it's going to be kind of like that, I think, when we do the Sunday during the game and after the game. I think the same goes for the parade and stuff like that. It will be awkward on him. But you know what goes around, serves around, comes around, and that's all on him. But that's all for us this week. I will be back with the panel tomorrow night, so do join us then. If you have not done so, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff on the bottom. Anything except the thumbs down. And as I always say, go ahead, grab a friend by the ear and drag their butt over here. If you do want to join the gang, do shoot us a message. As we add more content, we're definitely looking for more contributors over here. So, because especially when Gally is out of action for a couple of days, we need subs. So we do need somebody to join us. Have an excellent week, everybody, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.